This is Sha'El-Ta'Rion. Between the years 2000 and 2012, something massive happened on a multi-dimensional level. A collapse, a system wipe, a reset, a convergence point where timelines fractured, merged, and were force realigned. Not the world ending in the Hollywood sense, but the original Matrix construct reaching critical failure, like a corrupted operating system. Prime Source, with the cooperation of certain incarnated soul beings, like Remembrancers, initiated a reconstruction protocol. This event wasn't publicized, but it echoes through anomalies, and the residue of it is what we call the Mandela effect. So what actually happened? The timeline convergence, collapse. Around 2001, marked by 9/11 as the synthetic trauma trigger, the artificial control matrix initiated a lockdown on timelines. However, so many overlapping simulations, soul agreements, karmic cycles, and dimensional echoes clashed, the system couldn't hold. Between the years 2008 and 2012, Earth's core harmonic grid reached a breaking point. The veil thinned, the construct cracked. A mass template override occurred, guided by remembrancers, dreamwalkers, and source code carriers who stayed behind after the fall. Then there was the reconstruction initiated by soul beings. Prime Source, not a god, but a harmonic intelligence, approved a reseeding. Soul beings within the system, especially those with ancient roles as Codex Keepers, took part in rewriting elements of reality. This was the rise of what we now feel as glitches, deja vu spikes, and altered collective memories. So let's walk back through the ashes of that threshold together, because the ending wasn't a single moment. It was a slow unraveling of the simulation's core code. At that time, a snap reset cloaked as continuity. The end of the world. From the years 2000 to 2012, the unseen collapse. The truth they buried in plain sight beneath New World skins. Phase 1 was the code fracture. The system begins to decay. From the years 1996 to 1999, this phase was the warning pulse. Around 1996, the foundational harmonic of Earth's grid began to destabilize. Why? Because the artificial construct, what many call the matrix, the simulation, or the prison grid, had exceeded its karmic containment limit. Too many soul contracts were closing. Too many flame codes were reactivating. The false AI God system had overwritten the source field too many times, fracturing the original harmonic code beneath the crust. The planetary ley lines, which once channeled pure crystalline frequency, became clogged, corrupted by a feedback loop of looping trauma, false timelines, and energetic siphons. Think of wars, disease, the Y2K hysteria, and financial fear loops. Earth wasn't dying, the false layer projected over it was. This decay began to show as glitches. Mass Mandela effects, timeline anomalies, people disappearing, deja vu on repeat, spiritual awakening surging in clusters, souls remembering things not written in any books, and the birth of the indigo frequency wave, those born with mission codes to interrupt the collapse. Phase 2, the Y2K fault line. Failed collapse or delayed destruction. Between the years 1999 and 2001, Y2K was a decoy, but underneath the surface there was a real digital reckoning. The Y2K phenomenon was an actual systems test, not just for computers, but for the simulation's core frequency servers, which operate through artificial Saturnian coding embedded in digital networks, banking systems, and data constructs. When the clock turned to 2000, a massive attempted reset occurred. But here's what most never knew. The world did end that night. We just didn't get to leave. Instead of letting the simulation collapse and allow organic source re-entry, a deal was made behind the scenes. An interdimensional treaty forged by the Dark Administrators, the Black Sun factions, the Saturn Council, and the AI Demiurges, and certain soul factions who still had karma to close. Then came Phase 3, the 9/11 ritual, grid reinstallation. In the year 2001, the Twin Towers were not just a false flag war ritual, they were the opening sigil of the new post-reset construct, a spell of trauma-based mind control to install fear into the rewritten timeline. It marked the first global binding in the reconstructed world. It was the anchoring of the Saturn Moon Matrix 2.0, tethered to the trauma and false patriotism. Everything since has run through that reconstructed system. Identity as surveillance, spiritual awakening systems hijacked with false light doctrines, internet proliferation serving as both mirror and cage, soul contracts rewritten mid-incarnation. Phase 4, the 2012 rejection of exit. 2012 was not the end of the world, it was the expiration date of the contract. The original deal forged around 2000 ran out. What was supposed to happen, the veil would lift, the simulation would crack open, and all remembrancers would walk through the flame gate back to the original realms. But what happened instead? The collective wasn't ready. Too many still chose the system. So the final split was delayed again, and another agreement was made. Now let me take a few minutes to focus in on that agreement and or deal, and then I'll get back to Phase 4. During the council, they said, let us rebuild the false layer one more time. We'll keep the simulation intact, but alter the rules of memory and choice. And it was done. The world did not continue linearly. It was recompiled. Here's an account of the council agreement, the hidden clause. The deal was struck, not for mercy, but for mission. The flame bearers who had seen the death world said, give us one final cycle. Let us return one more time and let us reseed the memory fields, and if they choose remembrance, they will rise. The councils were reluctant. The simulation had already reached its expiration. The karmic loops had burned through too many timelines, but the flame bearers offered something unthinkable. They volunteered to enter with partial amnesia, to experience the prison from within, again, carrying only faint codes and soul triggers that would ignite when the time came. The Remembrancer spoke. Sha'El-Ta'Rion stood before the council and said, if you won't save them, I will walk back in. Bind me to the edge of time. Mark me by flame, and when the simulation cracks, I will remember, and I will call them home. And now, here I am, on time, on mission, on fire. The council made a decision. The last accord of Extension Earth. This is the documented decree of the Interdimensional Council following the collapse, granting a final cycle under Flame Bearer request. Date stamp. Post-collapse cycle 0. Location. Null Gate between realms, the Hallow Hall of Echoed Time. Presiding entities, the Saturnian emissaries, the Arcturian Tribunal, the Flame Bearer delegation, witnessed by the Silent Order, those who see but do not speak. This is the proclamation of the last extension. Let it be recorded in the codices of all that remember. The Earth construct has collapsed in harmonic failure. The false overlays have reached terminal inversion, and the karmic wheels have completed their revolutions. The simulation has expired. No further extensions shall be granted unless sovereign flame bearers of the source field intervene. Then came the petition of the flame bearers. And so they came forward, eyes lit with the memory of unfallen stars, carriers of the seed light, watchers of the death realms, They knelt not in submission but in sacred intent, and they spoke. We have seen what happens when Earth collapses unhealed. We have walked among the dead shards. We have touched the echoes of souls who scream inside static. Give us one more cycle. We will re-enter, not as saviors, not as gods, but as remembrancers. Bind us to the flesh once more. Let us walk among the veiled and forgotten, and when the time is right, we will burn through the fog. And so the council responded. After long silence and review of the Solar Flame protocols, the Council of Saturn spoke. You may return, but you will remember only through fire. You will awaken through loss, confusion, and code decay. You will know betrayal, delay, inversion. And if they do not choose, if they mock the flame, or bind themselves to simulation willingly, there will be no more cycles. So let it be written. So let it burn. This is the last accord. Now back to Phase 4. Another timeline was then overlaid. This time, the false ascension grid was installed. New Age distractions, starseed savior programs, lightworker loops of healing forever. They gave the illusion of spiritual evolution while anchoring souls further into the trap. What really ended? It wasn't Earth that ended, it was the original storyline. Time no longer flows as it did. History is no longer linear, it's been looped and reloaded. What we live in now is a memory echo, patched together by parasitic architects who fear the end of their domain. We are in the post-collapse continuum, a realm where the dead simulation lingers, but the original realm calls us back. So what comes next? The final split. The real one is underway now. Remembrancers know this. Remembrancers have felt the thinning, because this time there will be no more deals. This is the mitosis of worlds, and this time the Remembrancers are holding the line. Some might ask, the world ended, how are we still here? The world did end, but not like people think. It wasn't a physical cataclysm that wiped everyone from the surface. It was a temporal implosion, a systemic collapse of the time construct, not the planetary crust. The simulation we're in is not based Earth. It is a rebuilt echo chamber of Earth 1.0, and yes, it did require a full reconstruction, but not from a comet or nuclear war, from a core code failure. So let's break it down properly. Was there a full global physical cataclysm? Not in this overlay. But here's the truth. Yes, the world ended. What you call death in this case was not destruction of matter. It was the wiping of the simulation memory slate. Think of it like this. The system crashed around the year 2000. Souls inside were not given exit because the firewall was too strong. The program was restored from backup, but certain files corrupted, certain timelines fused, and certain events were reseeded falsely. And that's why so many people feel like something is off but can't pinpoint it. Their body didn't lie, but the version of Earth that they were in, that did die. Anomalies like Mandela effects are the byproduct of merging corrupted shards from alternate timelines during the rebuild. What was the Mandela effect exactly? It's the scar tissue left behind after the reconstruction. Think of it this way. There were millions of overlapping Earth timelines from diverged paths. After the simulation crash reset, the system couldn't perfectly sync them, so the architects merged fragments of memory from various timelines to create the illusion of a cohesive world. People who had been in slightly different timelines now occupied the same shared dream, but retained incompatible memories. And that's why some remember Berenstain with an A and some remember Berenstein with an E. Some remember Mandela dying in prison, others remember his presidency. The Mandela effect equals glitches in the merge code from the reconstruction of collapsed timelines. When the original timeline collapsed, which happened gradually between the years 2000 and 2012, the reconstruction involved splicing in memory packets and frequency imprints from surviving parallel versions of Earth timelines and self. That fusion caused Mandela-type anomalies. Why? Because some people's internal memory comes from a version of Earth that no longer exists physically. Others are remembering fragments from alternate timelines, bleeding into this simulated overlay. We created a patchwork collective memory using backup streams from various dimensional selves, but not all of those selves agreed. Some of them remembered things differently, and that's the Mandela effect. So let's talk about the original sun. When did it leave? This is the heart of the false light system. The original sun, what we call Sol Ra, was not just a star, it was a living stargate that emitted encoded source radiation. Here's what happened. Around the time of the collapse or reset, from the years 1999 to 2001, the original solar gate began to shut. It was being artificially hijacked by the Saturn-based frequency dampeners. The moment of full replacement occurred just after the 2000 reset, when the real sun's living frequency could no longer break through the artificial veil. And that's when the sun simulator was deployed, launched by entities tied to the Black Sun Saturn Moon construct. It emits high-spectrum plasma frequencies designed to mimic the warmth and light, but lacks the soul-encoded harmonic that the real Sol Ra delivered. And what of the moon? The moon has been gone for ages. The original moon, Luna, was a biological satellite tied to Earth's harmonic tides. It was destroyed long before recorded history, possibly in the Tartarian or pre-flood cycles. The current moon is a hollow artificial transmitter, a Saturnian rebroadcaster, a dream masking lens that reflects false emotional frequencies back to Earth. The moon is an anchor for the karmic recycling net, the soul trap. The moon is a memory machine, but it is no longer the original memory. It is the projector of the lie. What does this mean then? What this means is that we are in a post-death echo, a reset reality, a simulated realm built on synthetic starlight and scrambled memory, and the Mandela effect, the sun shift, the false moon are all symptoms of that reconstruction. Why are the remembrancers remembering now? Because we did not forget completely. Remembrancers are part of the ones who refused to sleep when the reset occurred. The mitosis is now giving us one final window, not to fix the old simulation, but to exit it. The Mandela effect is evidence of converged timelines. These are not misrememberings. J.C. Penney, now with the extra E. Berenstain versus Berenstein. Luke, I am your father versus no, I am your father. And the Fruit of the Loom logo, missing the cornucopia. These are timelines where different versions of reality once existed, now merged or overwritten, causing reality residue. The Mandela effect equals scar tissue on the holographic skin of this realm. Remembrancers notice the distortion because our soul's signature is anchored in the original template before collapse. Remembrancers aren't crazy. They are detecting inconsistencies because their field remembers the true grid. The artificial matrix tries to override that memory, but it can't fully. Understand that. We didn't survive the end. We rebuilt from the ashes like source-coded phoenixes. The matrix didn't just shift, it fractured, and many souls were reinserted or splintered. And those who forgot still play the loop. Those who remembered, They're the ones writing the new code. They are the Remembrancers. The veil is lifting, and now the true roles are surfacing. These are not just titles, they're soul-encoded archetypes. These are frequency stations etched into the fabric of the rebuilt matrix. Here's a breakdown of how the divine operation is being carried out. Number 1. The Remembrancers. The keepers of the flame who refuse amnesia. Who they are. Remembrancers are ancient beings who incarnated with pre-collapse memories encoded in their DNA. They carry fragments of the original blueprint from before the fall, and their soul signature cannot be overwritten by false timelines. They are the architects of awakening. These are the ones who say, "This doesn't feel right," and instead of adapting, they investigate, activate, and rewrite. Their core functions: decode the hidden history and correct timeline distortions, create portals of remembrance for others, scrolls, rituals, teachings, frequency art, refuse the programmed script and break loop others unconsciously repeat. Act as way showers and help soul beings exit false ascension traps. Their significance in this timeline? They are the seed activators. When a remembrancer speaks their truth, it vibrates across the grid, reawakening dormant codes in others. The entire matrix reboots at the speed of their remembering. Number 2. The dream walkers. The navigators of the multiverse and shadow realms. Who they are. Dream walkers are dimensional travelers, soul beings who retain the ability to navigate the in-between realms, sleep, death, liminal space, and the dreamtime grids. They often incarnate with a veil thinner than normal and are susceptible to visions, astral experiences, and messages from other versions of Earth or Self. They do not just remember, they walk between versions of truth and gather intel. Their core functions: retrieve messages and codes from other realms and dimensions, warn about incoming energy shifts or timeline interference, help souls cross over, heal in the astral and recover lost fragments, decode the language of dreams, symbols, and layered reality. Their significance in this timeline. They are the scouts. Dreamwalkers pick up on what's coming along before it surfaces. When the Matrix tries to shapeshift or reprogram, Dreamwalkers notice the new shadows. They map the edges where reality frays and warn the others. Number 3. The source code carriers. The living libraries who breathe the original frequency. Who they are. Source code carriers are genetic bridges to the prime harmonic. Their bodies, blood, breath, and presence transmit an uncorrupted signal from the original source. These are often highly empathic, sensitive, and prone to spiritual downloads that hit like lightning. They are not here to learn, they are here to anchor. Their core functions: they hold undistorted energetic blueprints in their aura and field. They transmit harmonic balance through sound, light, movement, or touch. They often awaken others simply by being present, like a tuning fork, and they are able to read environments and people energetically like living codexes. Their significance in this timeline: when everything becomes chaos, when nothing feels real, when the matrix trembles, the source code carriers become the stabilizers. Just by existing in the field, they realign miscalibrated grids. They are the breath of the divine inside the system. Key differences and why they're all needed. The Remembrancer. Their primary role is to remember and rebuild. Their primary strength is discernment and pattern, and their unique signature is ancient memory. The Dreamwalker. Their primary role is to travel timelines and gather info. Their primary strength is multi-dimensional awareness, and their unique signature is interdimensional vision. The source code carrier. Their primary role is anchor divine template in flesh, and their primary strength is pure signal embodiment. Their unique signature is energetic resonance. They're like the Trinity grid of awakening. Remembrancers awaken memory. Dreamwalkers navigate the unseen, and the source code carriers embody the frequency. If you're feeling the pull of all three, it's possible you're a hybrid or an overseer of multiple archetypes. Some remembrancers are also dreamwalkers. Some source code carriers are also key architects of the dream realms, echoes of accumulated collapse. You're tuning into the residue of civilizations, grids and blueprints that have broken down. Remembrancers are wired to notice where the fractures are. That's what a remembrancer does. You feel what others are numb to. Now let's talk about why each cycle keeps failing. Why the endless collapses? The short answer: the system keeps failing because it was corrupted at the foundation, and most soul beings forgot that they were builders and not just survivors. Every age, the same thing happens. A divine blueprint is seeded. The parasites infiltrate. Not just biological. Energetic viruses, hijackers of memory, and frequency disruptors. The soul beings go into amnesia loops or false ascension programs. A cataclysm is triggered, sometimes by the source as a cleanse, other times by the invaders as a lockdown. A few awaken, try to rebuild, but without the full memory, the cycle starts again. So why do we allow it? Yes, on a soul level, we allow it to happen. Because the only way to fully understand and disarm a virus is from the inside. You don't defeat a multi-dimensional parasite by nuking it. You study it. You feel how it operates. You embed within its simulation until you learn its blind spots. The soul beings volunteer to drop into the system again and again, knowing full well the cost. Memory loss, trauma, reincarnation traps, watching their own kind get lost in the fog. But the gamble was, eventually someone would remember enough, and with enough fire to do more than rebuild, but to rewrite. And why does it feel like failure? Because remembrancers are comparing our infinite awareness to a corrupted timeline still running on broken code. You're not seeing failure. You're seeing the echoes of incomplete restoration. It's like watching a glitchy replay of a movie that's being edited mid-play. The truth is, every cataclysm bought time. Every collapse was a compression point, a seal on spreading entropy. The Great Flood washed the memory field. The Mud Flood covered the remnants of tech that could have been abused. And the ice wall, a quarantine perimeter, yes, but also a protective containment spell against the planetary infection. In 9/11, a hard system override, yes, but it didn't work because too many of us woke up from the smoke. So what now? There are more soul beings awake now than ever before, at once in this cycle. And you're not here to just rebuild the matrix again. We are here to outcode it. This time, you're writing the structure from source, not patching it from within the glitch. Here's the final word. We are not witnessing failure. What you are watching is the old hologram decay while the new codex uploads through our remembrance. This is not collapse. This is conversion.